the MS Michigan Man 64 podcast. My name is Brian Wallace, and I am the MS Michigan Man 64. The MS Michigan Man 64 podcast is about chronic disease awareness. I have had multiple sclerosis for the last 27 years. It's an invisible chronic disease that I've been battling for half of my life. I want to share with you what it is like living with the chronic disease from my experiences and the experiences of other chronic disease warriors. We can fight to have a voice to those that want to listen. Together, we can motivate and educate. Hi, welcome to the MS Michigan Man 64 podcast. I am here today with another MS warrior, and her name is Tilly. How are you doing, Tilly?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm really excited having you. So you got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. How long ago was that?
So my journey was, when I got my diagnosis, it was 2 weeks before I turned 40, actually.
Oh, happy birthday to you.
Oh, yeah, right. Hey, that was 3 years ago.
Yeah. So what were your first symptoms when you were going through this whole process? And was it easy for you to get diagnosed, or did you have to go to a bunch of doctors and get turned?
So it took 7 years to get my diagnosis.
Wow.
I knew for a long time. When I started getting symptoms, they ended up treating me for a B deficiency. And that's when I knew something was really wrong, because my B, I would get B shots once a week from the doctor. Mm-hmm. And then I ended up getting my D back up. The problem was it would deplete again and again and again and again. And some of my symptoms were ice pick headaches. You know those ones?
Yeah, I've heard.
Where you have a stab.
Yeah.
So at the time, I had a doctor. He's not my doctor anymore, but he referred me to take beta blockers.
Okay. So
I was on those for about 3 years, and it helped with my headaches and all the shocks right to the head. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, okay, whatever. I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. And then some of my other symptoms were, eventually it affected my job. So I couldn't even do my job anymore. And my job was quite complicated because I was taking care of a whole freaking warehouse of people. Yeah. And, you have to know your math. You have to know this.
So, so you were struggling with the cognitive part of it?
Yes, I can't say that word properly, but yes, what you're saying. Cognitive, I was suffering pretty bad, to the point where I was almost passing out, and then I couldn't even think anymore. Mm-hmm. I could barely walk. Everything was just a blur. And I just I got better. I thought I got better because I'm a big gym buff.
Right.
So I was doing CrossFit. So I was working out constantly. And then one of my workouts, you know what an MS hug is?
Yes, I get those quite often.
I didn't know what those were, and now I know what it is, because I had one of those during a workout, and it felt like someone was squeezing the life out of me, and it just hurt really bad. And so I took time off from the gym, mm-hmm. and also thought that I had some kind of injury or something like that, but it turns out that's my MS.
So you're still,
and I had,
so you still have no answers right now. You're training really hard, doing the CrossFit. You're having all these symptoms, and you can't figure out what's going on, and you're not getting any answers.
Yeah, and then I'm told that I'm just overdoing it. Basically, is slow down, take a break, and I'm also a runner, so I was running up to 10K. Mm-hmm. And eventually it started to affect my running. I'd give that up.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I kind of thought that I was just like going to eat healthy and I was going to keep exercising and get through it. But there was all these symptoms that kept popping up, and it just gradually got worse to the point where I had to go right off of work.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were in COVID times too, right? So when I got COVID, like, oh gosh, probably like 3 times.
Oh,
and I even got COVID before I got vaccinated. And I don't know who's against vaccines. I am. Now I am.
Yeah.
Because when I got vaccinated, I swear it made my MS worse.
You know what? When I got vaccinated, I never got COVID for a year and a half, and then they mandated that you had to get vaccinated or you would lose your job. So I got the vaccination.
Mm-hmm.
I got vaccinated, and I got COVID like 3 weeks later. I got sick.
I think it was. I'm not going to get into that because that's government stuff. But I think that's what killed my dad too, was the vaccine. So,
yeah,
I don't talk kindly of that, but anyways,
yeah,
yeah. So when I got fully vaccinated, and then I got sicker and sicker and sicker, and eventually I got to the point where it was affecting my speech and my walking, and it was just I was not even barely able to get a full sentence out of my mouth anymore.
God, that is just
so. When I finally got my diagnosis, that's when the grieving started. So grieving the process. I already knew I had it, but then I went into that whole like, oh my God, I'm doomed kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, we all
kind of really depressed.
I think we all go.
And I had a life coach. They even planned ending of life. They had sat me down and they just explained, and they're like, "Do you have life insurance?" And like, are you kidding me? Like, that was scary.
So you had
I had a life coach.
So you basically had somebody like preparing you to die from the MS because of the MS?
Well, to talk about the plan, what I was going to do and how it was going to go.
Okay.
They didn't say I was going to die. They just wanted to prepare me.
I hope to God they
So
didn't.
I sat in a room with nurses. I think there was 2 of them there. And they're like, okay, let's explain this to you. And so it was an hour. And they're like, you're not going crazy. You have lesions on your brain, and this is what it is. And they explained that there's treatments, there's therapy, there's this. So I started on Tecfidera, and that was a nightmare. I was super allergic to it.
Yeah.
So I held out for 6 months, but it felt like my whole body was on fire from the shoulders up.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was just not handling it well. It was making me like a lobster, red in the face. And it was working a little bit for some of the symptoms, but I was too allergic to it.
So what did they end up doing? They took you off that and put you on another DMT?
I went off of it, and then I was like a mess, and I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And not on top of that stuff is expensive. If you don't have coverage, you can't get treatment.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I've been doing this 27 years, and I think the very first medication I was on was Copaxone, and we're talking back in 1997. That medication was like $12,000 a month. And if it wasn't for the copay assistance programs, I don't know how anybody with MS could even afford their medications.
Yeah. So I ended up asking if I could take something else. And my neurologist was so nice. He was like, what do you want to take? He's like, we got this option, this option. He gave me like 6 options.
Okay.
And I picked the infusion therapy, which also I was like, am I even going to get this covered? Because it's $6,000 a pop times 2, so $12,000 every 6 months.
Which infusion are you getting?
I'm getting the, oh my gosh, you think I can remember now? Lithomax.
Okay.
Rithomab or
Okay, I'm not familiar with that.
Riximial is what it's called.
Oh, okay.
I got it. Riximial.
Okay. I've heard of that one. Yeah, I have no experience on that one. I did the IV ones. I did Tasabri for about 2-3 years. I didn't like that one at all. Yeah, it's hard finding a good med that your body agrees with. I know the very first med that I was put on was Avonex. Back in 97.
Never heard of that.
I would take that shot on a Friday night. I'd be sick all weekend, and then I'd go to work on Monday through Friday, and then I'd do it all over again. And I did that for a month, and I told my doctor, I'm like, I can't do this. So he switched me to Copaxone, and I did Copaxone for 15 years, which was a heck of a lot more tolerable for me. But yeah, I get it, man.
Oh, that's good.
Sometimes you just, it's like a trial and error. This one might not make you feel good. You got to make sure you let your neurologist know that, so that they can get you on something that your body's good with.
Well, here's the kicker. I'm allergic to my infusion, but I still get it done.
Oh my gosh.
Because it actually, listen to this. So I have to stay in a room with the infusion, getting that slowly injected into me with a steroid with massive amounts of Benadryl, because I am allergic. It does itch my throat and it does give me hives.
Wow.
So basically, they kept me on it because I was getting good results after. Mm-hmm. And so every time I go, it can be 6 to 8 hours. And last time I think I got out of there 6 hours.
Wow. That's just crazy. See, people don't understand what we have to go through. You know, that
a little torture.
It's a life of hell. Like every day, 7 days, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We never get a break. And that's just crazy that it's a 6-hour infusion. Oh my gosh. So,
I think the longest one I did was 10 hours.
Oh my gosh,
and I was so out of it. I was like, I messed up after for about a day or two. Wow. So
So what kind of support when you got that news that you got diagnosed with MS? I know that's a life changer. And you said you didn't really handle it very well. What was your support like family, friends?
At first I didn't handle it well, and I wasn't shy I told everybody. I was not shy about it.
Yeah.
Because they knew I was suffering at work. They saw me struggle. So I just said, look, I actually have this. And they're like, oh my God, you're going to die. Like they don't understand it. One of the ladies had a family member that died and was in a wheelchair. And so she was like, oh my God, my so-and-so passed away. I'm so sorry. You're probably going to end up in a wheel. Like they don't understand, but she was just so ignorant about it because she lost a family member. But you don't understand that it is all about the mind too.
Yep.
You have to have mind power or you will die.
This is an attitude. You have to have an attitude with this disease, and it has to start like if you can't start on day one, it's got to start shortly after, or you're going to be in a lot of trouble. I know I was.
It took.
Go ahead.
No, sorry, you go.
Well, I was going to say I was kind of like you when I first got diagnosed. I was in the gym, a lot, and then my doctor told me don't stop doing that, and that's like kind of when I kicked in and said, you know what, I'm going to go down if I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down with a fight, and I was in the weight room and making sure that I was as strong as I could be. So when I did have an episode, it wasn't as hard to recover from it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, no, you're fine. So now that you are diagnosed and it's been a few years and you were a gym rat, are you still
3 years?
Yeah. You still trying to, take care of your body and working out and all that?
So I finally found a way that I can cope with MS and how I have found kind of like my routine where I can feel better to the point where I am walking way better than I was.
Okay.
And it is exercise, a lot of exercise. So I've incorporated when I wake up in the morning that I make sure that I do those workouts. I was going to physio once a week and then every 2 weeks. And I just graduated from physio.
Yay, congratulations.
Thank you. And then I take vitamins. What else do I do? I do a lot of meditation, actually. A lot of gratitude.
Do you take, do you do any supplements?
Vitamin D, I take 3 of those, and I take a Q10 enzyme.
Mm-hmm.
And then I take, I have one medication that I take every day, but I have to. Mm-hmm. And the rest of it is just vitamins. And I also discovered I cannot eat first thing in the morning, so I don't eat until noon.
Wow. What happens if you eat first thing in the morning?
I feel like I want to go lay down and die.
Oh, okay.
My body gets sluggish from food. Okay. So if I don't eat until afternoon, I do better with it.
Okay. All right. That's awesome that you figured that out. It's kind of funny how you get that diagnosis and, you were the way you were before diagnosis, and then you just have to make all these little adjustments as you go. Like, you know what? Okay, this didn't work with my MS, so I got to change this. I have found that I've done that so much in the 27 years I've been doing this. And it sounds like you're doing the same thing. I mean, you're figuring out little things that, okay, if I do this, I'm good with it. If I do this, I'm not good with it.
Yeah.
So what kind of, has it affected relationships? Like you have kids,
yeah.
Parents?
So after I got separated and I'm divorced now, I got into a relationship, and then I got pregnant with Addie, and it turns out he was an abuser and narcissistic and controlling and stuff like that. And I didn't know any better because I thought that was it for me. I thought that this is kind of where I'm at, and I'm going to try to make it work for my daughter, mm-hmm. which was actually worse.
Yeah, that just puts so much stress on you, and stress is my number one enemy with multiple sclerosis. If I have anything in my life that stresses me out, I usually go and I go into I have an episode right away when I'm under a lot of stress.
Yeah, and it's so I had to and it affects your self-esteem.
It does. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. So I am so sorry to hear that you were in that kind of a relationship, especially when you're trying to battle a chronic disease like this. So did that cause your symptoms to worsen in that kind of a relationship?
With the abuse, yeah. And also I was confused because a few times when I got hurt, that was probably also my MS, but I was pretty injured at one point. And I just thought that it was just me, that I was a bad person. I didn't understand it. So when I got out of there, which I was in for almost 6 years, I didn't know how to find what I needed to do in life. And I was at my lowest. Mm-hmm. And so it took me, I did 90 days of therapy. I did another 90 days of therapy. And literally every day, 5 days a week, I had therapy.
Yeah.
Probably saved my life.
Yeah. And like I said, battling an abusive relationship on top of having a chronic disease that's just something that we definitely do not need with this disease. And I'm just so sorry you had to go through that, but I'm very happy that you got it.
It made me stronger.
Yeah, it does make you stronger.
So here's the thing. I met a guy, and I didn't understand healthy relationships. So that's my problem, is understanding healthy from bad. Mm-hmm. So I'm still seeing the guy, but it's been like he literally has not left my life. Like he gives me space and he gives me time. And we've been like, I've kind of been seeing him for a year now.
Oh, that's awesome.
And
how does
he's really good with,
does he understand the multiple sclerosis part of it?
He tries to get me help all the time. Like he's very good at like finding ideas and bouncing them back and forth and trying to give me advice. And he is a really smart man. Mm-hmm. And I do care a lot about him. And he also is struggling himself with some things. And so it's nice to have somebody in my life that's struggling too.
You know, I completely understand what you're talking about. My wife has, she's been diagnosed with fibromyalgia, and she also has, some heart problems that she's dealing with. So it is, I don't know if it's a positive, but it is for me that she at least understands the chronic disease part of it, that it's not it's not my fault, you know, just like it's not her fault that she has fibromyalgia. We kind of understand that with each other. And I think that helps a lot. I know I've heard some really horror stories about people, you know, they're married and, you know, they get diagnosed with MS and their spouse, whether it's the husband or the wife, they just say, you know what, I can't deal with it. And they leave. And that's just horrible for somebody that's just got
they bail.
Yeah, it's tough. Relationships are tough without a chronic disease, and then you throw one into the mix, that makes it even harder.
Yeah, no, like, and he has nerve damage, so his left side is messed up. Okay. So me and him were like we both limp on our left sides. Mine's better now, right? Not better, but like I can walk a lot better than I did, and so it's nice to have someone that also is, you know, dealing with pain and struggling and
understands.
You understand.
Yeah. I totally get that. Now you said you have a daughter. How old is she?
I have 2 daughters and a son.
Okay, so how do your kids deal with the multiple sclerosis? Like, hey, mom's got multiple sclerosis. Do they understand it, or because I know my kids. My kids are older now, 20. But I know when they were young, because I've had MS their whole life, and when they were young, it was hard to get them to understand. But I tried to kind of incorporate them in the whole MS thing. Like when I did my injections, that they would press on the plunger and all that to put it into my body, and I just kind of like tried to get them to learn as I went that, hey, dad's got this disease, you know, but he's still your dad and he's still okay and everything's going to be good. But just understand that he does have something going on.
Yeah. So my son right away, when I got my diagnosis, he started Googling MS and he said, well, Mom, you're not that bad and you don't have that bad of a case. And I was just like, what? Like, do you understand that it can get worse and that some people have milder cases of it, but it doesn't stop. And so my other child, my older daughter there, she's 19. Mm-hmm. She also was like, oh, don't be such a baby about it. Look at you look fine. Like they didn't understand the whole process of what it does to your body and how you're feeling. And eventually, it took a couple of years, I think, for them to kind of get more on board with it.
I don't think that anybody, whether it's family, friends, or just somebody you walk up to on the street, they don't understand that these diseases are invisible. I mean, it's not like, okay, that person has MS. Now they get diagnosed with MS. Now they change the way that they look. Nothing changes. I mean, it's an invisible disease that you can't tell people have.
Yeah. Yeah, like even right now when I'm talking to you, my arm is going numb.
Is that, yeah, both of my legs are numb 24/7. It's a terrible feeling. But I mean, we learn to live with it. Because most people that I've met that have been diagnosed with MS, they are warriors and they never quit. I know a lady that has primary progressive that was in a wheelchair and now she's walking without a cane. I mean, it's just, you can't quit when you have this disease. And I think if you start to quit, the disease almost knows that you're quitting, and that's when it really like starts to take over your whole body.
Yeah. Well, I actually was going to get a cane and then I was going to bling it out. And I decided, no, I'm not going to put a cane in my place because I don't want to have that cane sitting there. So that's why I'm fighting it.
That was a hard thing for me when, for the 27 years, the first 15, you couldn't tell that I had the disease. I mean, I was golfing. I was doing everything that I wanted to do. I just couldn't do it as well as I used to. But once I started having to use a cane, man, did I fight that. I didn't want to use it. I would leave it in the car and struggle to go into a store instead of taking it out of the car and making it easier on myself. That was a really hard thing for me to get to the point where, you know what, I don't give a shit anymore. I'm just going to use this thing because it's better for me to use.
Yeah. Well, I'm a fighter right now, and I'm 43 years old, so I'm pushing so that I can get at least 10 more years without without the assistance of a walker or the cane. And even I hate stairs. Stairs are my enemy.
Yeah, mine too.
So I have a place that I moved into, which is wheelchair accessible. I even have a wheelchair shower, and I don't have a bathtub, and it's depressing because I would love to have a bathtub.
Yeah.
But if I get worse, at least I have, accessible. It's just one floor.
Yeah, because you got to think ahead. I mean, when I first got diagnosed, I had a colonial house with steps, and that was the first house I bought. And then after I started getting worse, I'm like, why the hell did you buy a colonial house with steps? You should have a flat ranch. And yeah, it's a lifelong process of trying to manage what works for you and what's good. I'm a big fan of grab bars now, and that was something that, if you would have told me that 20 or 10 years ago, I would have been like, nah, I don't need that. But
you said grab bars?
Yeah, like for inside the bathroom, so that
actually, I'm a fan of them too.
Yeah. It's there's tools out there to help you. I wish that people would understand that they're there and they're there for a reason. But I understand the fight with it mentally. It's because you don't want to look like you're weak, and using a cane that makes people look like they're weak.
Yeah, well, my daughter always jokes around that you're going to need a cane, and it does upset me sometimes because she walks faster than me, and I'm trying to tell her to slow down so that I can catch up to her, and I'm just trying to walk,
yeah.
So I've been trying to get to that point. I actually do want to be able to run again. This is my goal. One of my goals I set is that I'm going to run 2K.
You know what? And I know that you have the attitude, and I there's no doubt in my mind that you're going to do that. And I'll give you a little motivation. I'm friends with a lady that has MS that's up in Michigan, and she actually got diagnosed with MS about as long ago as me, 27, 28 years ago. And she actually ran a 10K after she got diagnosed.
Is that the one? What's her name? Is she on TikTok?
Yeah, her name's Kathy.
Oh, okay, because there is one on there that was a runner that I follow.
Yeah, Yeah, I spoke with Kathy, and I was just blown away. I'm like, you ran, because I was a runner too before I got diagnosed, and there's no way in the world I was ever going to run again after I got diagnosed. And when she told me that she actually ran a 10K after diagnosis, I was like, that is unbelievable. So
that is unbelievable.
It is possible, and I do believe that you will do it, because I've watched your workout. You work out, and you're a badass in the gym, man. You go after it.
Well, I used to squat with 165 pounds on my back.
Wow.
And my deadlift used to be 220 pounds, 230, I think.
Wow.
And at the time I was in my best shape, but
hey,
I don't know. I can't do that, but I can modify my workout.
I actually think that's a benefit for us, like me and you. Like, we got diagnosed and we were already in decent shape. And I definitely think that your physical health is a very big contributor to fighting this disease. Just getting some kind of exercise.
Yeah. Well, even my neurologist, when he called me, he was in shock that how good I was doing for when he discovered my MS.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, I don't know what to tell you. He's like, do you believe me? And then he's like reading my charts to me and stuff. And I was just like, yeah, no, I believe you. I know I have MS.
Yeah.
So he was pretty like, you're a strong girl, a strong woman. You can do this.
You got this, man. I just the more and more I talk to you, I just love your attitude. I can't believe you're only like 3 or 4 years into your diagnosis, but you just seem like just such a badass. And I love watching you on your videos. And you're open.
Thank you. I'm humbled.
and you're so open too. I mean, when you're having a bad day, you let us know that too. Because you're going to have bad days with MS. I mean, and that's just the fact of this disease. And you're going to have good days, and you're going to have days where you feel like shit. And, but you always have to have it in your mind. Okay, I'm not going to quit. I am not going to quit. And you got to keep on pushing.
Yeah, well, some of the videos that I make that are sad, like when I'm really in my emotions, I end up deleting them because I think I want to only have positive videos up. So I've only left a few of them up.
Yeah.
But sometimes, you're just in that state and you're like, well, I was going to post a video anyways. So I might as well tell them what's going on.
So if anybody's listening that doesn't follow you on TikTok, what is your handle on TikTok so they can search for you?
Metillica.
Spell that out.
METILLYCA.
Awesome.
And then
Yeah. Tilly is such an awesome person. Her videos are amazing. She is very motivational with this disease. I love your attitude. What would your message be? Because I'm going to start wrapping this up. So I want to give you one last chance. What would your message be to people that are trying to get answers and fighting to get answers to this disease? Even though they might know that what the answer is going to be, what would your message be to them, to kind of motivate them to keep on fighting?
So never give up. You always have to think that you are a strong person and that your light shines, and always, just have that positive mindset. What I do is I give a lot of gratitude, and I just thank the universe every day for waking up in the morning. Even if you can only get out of bed and grab some water, you're still getting up in that moment, and you're still alive, and just do little things and even just say thanks. If it's just a little thing that happened that day that was just amazing and made you feel good, just give gratitude for that and just keep plugging away at it. You can live with this disease, and that's what I'm doing.
Yep. Give yourself a pat on the back when you do something positive. I love it. I love it, Tilly. I really appreciate the opportunity you gave me to talk to you and just talking about MS, and you are such a positive person. I'm so glad that I found you on TikTok, and I'm glad that we became friends.
Thank you. I'm really humbled. Thank you.
I'm so glad that we became friends, and I really plan on keeping in contact with you, even though you're in Canada and I'm in the United States. I want to know when you run that 5K or whatever you decide to do, your goal. When you do it, I'm going to be right there cheering you on, and I can't wait to hear that you did it.
Thank you.
No problem. All right, so this is I'm going to wrap up the show for today. I really appreciate you tuning in. I want to thank Tilly for being here, and this is MS Michigan Man 64. I am out.